There's one stock that is about to explode. This company is Nvidia invested in them. So this isn't like a Nvidia open AI circular, situation where you give me 100 billion, I spend 100 billion on your chips. No, this is actually Nvidia invested in them, and they provide AI infrastructure for Nvidia. So it's kind of the traditional business arrangement we would think. One company pays another. So let's jump into the chart and take a look at why now is the time to buy CRWV, Coreweave. Okay, so Coreweave is an IPO. So that's the first sort of chill out sort of piece of information. Okay, so you don't want to just pile into this and then just walk away and a couple months later check your investment. A lot like Circle, this price action has been very IPO-y, euphoria and then unwinding. I mean, Figma is an example of that on an accelerated time scale, but I think Coreweave looks good right now, given this sort of marching up is not as beautiful as I'd like. Spotify, is an example of a company that just builds a nice base out for a long time. I mean, recently, the last couple of days have been kind of yucky. Everything in the market has gone down the last couple of days. But those are just a few examples. Spotify, Netflix, of some bases building out sideways. Sideways action is easier to risk off of. Coreweave doesn't have that sideways action. It's moving up, okay? However, you still sort of have some levels here, particularly here. Actually, I shorted and then longed this little example bit here, but you go back even further to May, this level is relevant, $130 whole dollar level, and we're pretty much there. We hit it 3 times, you could say, maybe 4. So the idea, of course, is you risk $1 down to a level like that, and then you make 10, 20, you try to do something like that. Sometimes you're wrong, okay? Sometimes I'm wrong, okay? But when you make more than you lose, I don't mean you're correct more than you're incorrect. I mean, when you're right, you're really right. And in the last few weeks, we've gotten examples of what being really right, looks like in the quantum, nuclear, uranium sectors. There have been stocks that have just gone absolutely parabolic, okay? And don't get me wrong, I'm wrong sometimes too. I said OfferPad could be a good stock to jump in after Open Door, and OfferPad never really got off the ground, okay? But you did have an example to just get out, which is what we talk about, okay? And this one didn't even unwind much, so, you're wrong. And then those 3 examples, you're right, you're doing incredible. Of course, Open Door itself also unwound, which was expected, but the fact that it unwound so quickly probably didn't help its sort of sympathy ideas. So this was the other Open Door sympathy, and that one also unwound. So look, buying speculative stocks is speculative. Coreweave is an example of a stock that is slightly less speculative than those real estate technology companies that are $10 stocks, right, or less. Coreweave is an IPO, okay, recently, but it does have that Nvidia investment, and I gave you that level, and it looks like it's, has some volume here, and it's moving up slowly. So certainly not something you want to short. And when you hear that, can sometimes be the recipe for a long idea. So let's get our head out of the lines and into, hey, if we just looked at a little brief on this, what would it say? And this is what it would say, okay? Coreweave does GPU cloud services for AI, okay? Big contract with Nvidia as well as that investment. NBIS, another Nvidia-backed AI infra ticker, which is done super well. Also, almost $20 billion deal with Microsoft. Okay. And NBIS, another one that certainly mooned. And that was an example of another one where it did go up, and then as it sort of pulled back, had these compressed days and gave an opportunity to get in, risking very little, and then skyrocket up there. So just giving as many examples as possible. Okay, sometimes you have those compressed days and it does not skyrocket. Okay, actually, I don't know exactly when we talked about this one, but to give an exact date on that, I actually do have the dates of every stock idea I've provided here so far, and these are the dates. So for this particular one, this was back on September 13th. The ones in black are the ones that, in my opinion, didn't turn out the way I described them, and the ones that are not in black, I think you did all right with them. So let's look at that. September 13th was right here. So yeah, so we talked about it here, and this 13th, well, I guess the 13th was a Saturday, so it's not going to show them at the chart, okay, but this is Sunday futures. And yeah, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. You can get out very quickly because these candles are only like 0.5% or so, or whatever they are, 1%, 2%. Not a lot. It's a large percent because it's only a $5 stock, but you get the idea. Compared to how much it generally moves, about 17% a day on average over the past 10 days, you know, we can see moves a lot. That gives you an opportunity to get out where you don't have to look at your phone, you know, once a day. You could maybe, you know, you're on Saturday hanging out with your kids or doing things yourself or whatever. And then a couple days later, Tuesday, you know, you can still get out and lose very little. And in fact, it didn't even start to go really down until almost a week later. So those are the kind of ideas where I'm trying to provide here. Back to Coreweave though, this is the opportunity. And when we do look at this company, the big dogs we can kind of just ignore. Okay, they're not really, their moves are not really going to affect Coreweave unless there's some type of news that talks about some big change in GPUs. You know, GPUs are going to be needed though, so that's not really super relevant. There's some, of course some non-public competitors, but we can mostly ignore those because we're not in like biz dev or whatever. We're not trying to acquire these companies. Corporate whatever it's called. Look, these are all sort of doing the same thing. I think EC2 is the big name that's been around for 20 years, but it's sort of accepted that the GPU workloads are not going to be sufficiently handled by these big companies. Plus, OpenAI doesn't want to just rely on these big companies. So with that Nvidia investment, they're sort of signaling that Nvidia can sort of serve them completely, which is pretty incredible. They might not even need to use Amazon. They are currently using AWS for some of their training, OpenAI, but they can cut them out. They can cut out Google Cloud. They might even be able to cut out Microsoft, which is the hugest move if they do that. Well, it won't really be cutting that out. Microsoft will take equity or whatever. So it'll be excited to see how that deal develops. But here's exactly what's happening, okay? Coreweave did acquire Cores, and we did see that on the chart, okay? This was the news of the acquisition. It was sort of sell the news. I at the time did long that, which was pretty ill-informed. But you see I got out without many scars. So there was a big run-up into that news, though. So it is relevant that they're making these big moves to get the power in order to support the massive GPU power workload. So yeah, they do have contracts with OpenAI to this scale, and the $6 billion deal with Nvidia, which I guess was about half as big, but it's not really relevant what this number is because Nvidia invested in them as well. So this is a big number as well, 30 facilities across the US and EU. That's a lot. And of course, they're using Nvidia GPUs. So yeah, corporate development, that was the word I was looking for. I do think that they are going to continue to, you know, be at the epicenter of this $500 billion Stargate project, as long as they keep under the warm umbrella of OpenAI and Nvidia even more closely. I think they're going to be at the center of this whole conversation. Okay, and this happened just a couple days ago, as of this video time. So, $100 billion investment in OpenAI that then OpenAI spends on Nvidia chips. So, this is all positive for Coreweave. We looked at the chart. Yes, it went down a bunch, but it's an IPO. It's expected to be volatile. And then we just have to see, you know, what's the stock chart for Oracle looking like? And is there basically any one of these companies that's going to run away with the AI, you know, whatever it's called, whatever we're calling it now, super intelligence conversation? And that's sort of a, you know, rhetorical question, because I think the answer is, of course, no. The whole point is that they keep investing in each other, and you know, Meta went down a little bit on that Nvidia OpenAI investment circle jerk sort of thing. But then look, Nvidia sold right off again with the market. So we don't really have to look too granular on things like that, which, you know, seem like they're what we're supposed to be focusing on, because 100 billion is a huge number. But I think we kind of need to look at where people are not looking, and I think this is the spot to look, which is Coreweave, okay? A company where it is much smaller than Nvidia, but that's kind of the whole point. We're getting an opportunity to jump in early with really low risk, similar to what we talked about at the beginning of this video, like an offer pad where, you know, if you're wrong, no big deal, you know, you lose 50 cents a share or something, but if you're right, you know, you can get opportunities like this. So that's what we're doing on this channel. This is the ticker. This is the stock. That's the analysis from the street, literally, this Main Street situation we got going on here on this YouTube channel. If you like these ideas, if you want to talk about stock ideas, your stock ideas, head over to stockscommunity.com. That's stocks with an S, community.com. Try it out for $25 for 7 days. See if it's for you. You know, $25. Could be one trip to CVS, a couple of drinks, one drink if you live in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, some big city. So head over there. If you join that, I'll see you there. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Subscribe button's right down there, and you'll get notified when I release a new stock idea. See you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 This is Sam Putnam.